Mr. Ravindran, life on an oil tanker, that itself sounds very novel, very exciting also, and at the same time, very risky, as well as uh, we don't know what the danger lies ahead of us, like that. So it's some kind of a balance between the same. And five main points we'll be discussing on this. So to straight away start with, uh, is there any ghost on an oil tanker?
Ghost?
Yes, because I
No.
hear that there are in the middle of the sea, when especially when it is all dark, some ghosts roam around in the tanker ships.
Actually, some people they say that because I worked in some tankers which are already more than 23 years old, and I saw that in the front portion of the ship there was an old type store. In those stores, they used to keep some coffins, old coffins,
Oh,
not with body. But what happened? No, during olden times, they used to have this sea burial. So
fine.
for that purpose, they used to keep. So because of this, no, some Filipino crews, no, they were afraid to enter in the daytime also.
Mhm.
Even
Oh,
they're more superstitious than us. Even
okay.
they tell us sometimes because normally for a second officer, because first I was third officer, then I was second officer. So my duty was starting from the midnight only, 00:00 to 04:00, same way 1200 to 1600. So you can just imagine, suppose a crew ship with a crew 21 crew members are sleeping in the night. Only myself and one of my assistant is awake on the navigation bridge. Of course, if engine room people are manning that nowadays all the unmanned ships has come. So by evening 4:30, as per the schedule of 5 o'clock, if there is no urgent work, the engine room will be unmanned and any alarm that duty engineer will activate and he has to go inside.
So in a
Otherwise,
light, so in a lighter
yeah,
vein, only those awake are the ghost people.
ghost people only to second officer and the assistant that seaman who is there to assist him for a
Totally,
lookout
how
duty.
many people will be there on an oil tanker?
Normally, my last ship, no, not only last ship, last two, three, four ships only, we are having only 21 to 23. That's all.
Okay, 20 plus. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Now, sir, when the oil tanker starts its journey, and there is a phenomenon called tsunami in seas. Now, how you predict a tsunami, or how suddenly, if you come to know about tsunami, how you handle or how you come out of tsunami, can you just illustrate?
Normally, when we start a journey, the second officer will be planning a route,
Mhm.
taking into consideration all the safety aspects throughout the journey, the starting point to the destination, and in consultation with the master, because captain is the final authority. So both will decide what is the safest route, and also we have instruction from our company what we have to follow, how much distance we have to keep away from the land, because you know that all ecological systems are there. So the oil tanker, if anything happens, some oil spill is there. So we have to keep all clear of this area. Also, we have got some charts which is called ocean route. It's not pilot charts. Means for each month, for January to December, each month charts are defined, and in the charts, the route is given, and to avoid that area wherever there is a high pressure, low pressure, all this marked in the chart also with what is the pressure in that particular area in millibar.
Mhm.
So before starting the journey, we will be checking all the weather facts which is consulting to us regarding during our journey. And also the ocean route is another thing. Nowadays it is very easy. The ocean route will send us the all information. Once the company knows that our route is, we will have to give the company the entire route. We are planning to do this route from point A to point B. So once we are given this route to the company, they will ask the ocean road to provide us with the latest weather report. So we'll be consulting that, yeah, and we'll mark the all areas will be highlighted in the chart. Means where we are passing near to that area and what precautions we have to take. So if it is required to pass through the area, we have to pass only because there is no other way. So what we have to do, our entire naval team, this bridge team, will be called by the captain. That is chief officer, second officer, third officer, the master, chief engineer, and if you are junior officer, that is the cadets are there, and plus these duty able seamen who are doing the steering. So then he will instruct like oil tanker. We don't have to do anything because it's a oil. It is underneath the deck. But for a cargo ship, it is different scenario. We have to lash things, containers, and all that thing. But for us, it is the thing that we have to make sure that anything loose items on board the ship should be lashed properly. The safety of the chief officer and the senior most seaman bosun, they will go around the ship and make sure that ship is well secured for sea, whether we are expecting tsunami or not. It is our prime duty, and the both will report to the master that ship is secured for sea. That is
Do,
our prime duty.
do you mean to say that all this charting and all this guidance of the weather conditions are all based upon the satellite communication?
That is correct. Weather facts is a plus. What is happening? This NOAA, Naval Observation Authority is there. What they do every 4 hours, we are observing our ship. Like every 4 hours, when we finish our watch, we are supposed to log down barometric pressure, temperature, wind direction, and wind speed. This wind direction and wind speed we are getting for the anemometer, and it will analog this thing displays there. So it is in meter per second and in knots also. So what is our observation? Some places these ships are under the NOAA, so they want the observation should be sent to the shore. So they will analyze our ship's own observation and the satellite. Based on that, they will make sure the chart is ready as a weather facts. And
This
we are
throws,
also receiving weather facts.
yeah, sorry. This
Please.
throws up two questions here. The first question is how many ships at a given point of time in a say around 1,000 square kilometer areas of sea will be there?
And we cannot predict because
Approximately
it's maybe more than 100. I can say
100. So is it
Yeah, more than
possible? Is it possible for that NOAA agency to track all the 100 ships?
everything can be tracked. There is no problem nowadays. There is no
Oh, I
problem.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
And there is
Yeah.
also a traffic jam in the sea.
Like no, that is in English channel like that. In English channel, traffic jam will not be there. Because the thing is that it is not seen on the water, but in the chart, like one way and on the road we have no left and right. Right, one this thing is there. That is the traffic system is there division. So we have to follow that only. The moment we come out of the traffic lane, the coastal station will call us and tell you are out of station. Be careful, and heavy fine is there. So in English channel, and all, you have to be very careful. You can say some ships will be very next to us, but we will maintain such a speed as per the coastal station. They will be every time through radar surveillance advising us you maintain this speed. One ship is passing very fast, so we have to make because what happens when two ships are in close proximity, there is a hydrodynamic interaction between two ships. So what happens? The forward area there is a positive point, and the aft area there is a negative point. So when the ships are overtaking, what is happening? These both positive points are coming to means the bow will be repelling. Same way the hull may come close. So we have to take into consideration everything. What is the maneuvering characteristics of our ship? And we have got a AES, auto identification system. In that, when you are feeding all the details, you will get other ships' speed and what is the length of that ship, everything is given.
So that means you can spy on the other ship also.
No, because this is only for information.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is your good question. Like sometimes when you are passing through the Somalia area, sometime due to security reason, we are supposed to keep these areas off. Why? Because they can take all the information.
The second question, which I was about to ask, is there anything called as in our land area that sometimes we don't get a signal or we don't get a network like that? Is there any failure of satellite communication in the mid-sea?
Mid-sea, maybe sometime no, only our communication may be going with the company. Otherwise, this GPS satellite system don't fail like that. It happened in 2000, but we were prepared for that. They had told that the GPS may fail so on time, so we are prepared for that. Like that time, we had to use the coastal navigation, or earlier, what we are using is the sextant celestial navigation. There was no GPS earlier.
Can you
So
illustrate
we
a
are all
little bit?
practicing that.
Can you illustrate a little bit on that celestial navigation?
Celestial navigation, what we are doing that previously there was no GPS and all. So we are following the celestial navigation using the stars, sun, moon, everything.
Okay.
So we use got a equipment called sextant. With that, we take measure the angle from the horizon to the ship, and we'll adjust. And as per the calculation, we'll put on the chart and we'll see what is the position. Because latitude and longitude we know, so we calculate accordingly and we follow the route. But now also, even though we have all electronically fitted GPS, we follow the tradition.
But at that time, if the skies are cloudy, then what is the solution?
If skies are cloudy, yeah, I know that. That time, no, we will have a problem. But the thing is that time, what we'll do, what time we have taken the last site, suppose 8 o'clock we got some position, shift position, and now you say 9 o'clock there's a cloud. So what we do, 12 o'clock we'll see what is the speed ship gain. Accordingly, we'll plot the position. And once everything is clear, then we start fixing the position exactly.
So it's all guesswork then.
That was not our guesswork also, but that time was very good. Now, even though we are fitted with all electronic system, everything can fail anytime. System. If GPS fail, we have to sail, no?
So you also have an incubation training for this?
Yeah, sure. When we are doing the training in the Nautical Institute, we are given the full training. Then when as a cadets come on board, they have been given proper training with the equipments, everything on board also.
How many nautical institutes are there in our country, India?
I'm telling you, when I did my this thing, there was only one. Lal Bahadur Shastri Nautical College, Bombay. Now you can't imagine.
Oh, there is so much competition there.
So much competition because they have got the approval from the DG Shipping and they are running this institution. That is why this thing is flooded now.
This throws an interesting question. How many oil tankers will be there on behalf of India itself, both private and public?
I cannot, because my company itself having 65 oil tankers. One single owner.
And it goes to all the countries of the world?
Yeah. Worldwide.
That's possible. All the countries, of course, which has the seashore.
Seashore, yeah. And plus, like some places, if we cannot go ashore, the tanker, there is a facility that we can discharge oil from offshore only. There are facilities.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. We have this small called buoys, it is there, because the pipeline will be through the buoy underneath going to shore, and one pipeline will be connected to our ship, and the ship will be caught all on the buoy with good mooring ropes, and one tug will be pulling the ship so that the ship steady in that line, and then start with pumping. Same way we can load also.
Okay, that throws up an interesting aspect here. Now, whether it is theoretical or practical means what you have experienced, or theoretical, when a tsunami hits, how the oil tanker gets managed itself inside a tsunami?
Inside a tsunami, in the case that if you are in the open ocean, the speed of the tsunami is very less. I mean, it is not less, it will be about 400 nautical miles. Okay, we'll have a problem, but it will be less.
You mean to say that tsunami will only bring more oscillations rather than any big damage inside the sea?
Damage will be there, but I'm telling you, in open ocean, we are little safe.
But we jump into the second subject called oil spills. Before the oil spills occur, is there anything called a Suez cabin inside an oil tanker?
Yeah, it is. This Suez cabin is only for when we are transiting. When we are transiting Suez Canal, there will be pilot who will be taking us, and each pilot will be for each destination. Means that entire stretch is about 95 kilometers. But the thing is that at least 3 pilots will be changing over. And before the entrance of the Suez Canal, what happens? They will be putting 2 small boats on the ship. Why? Because in one point we have to keep the vessel one place only, tied with the ropes ashore. So that case we cannot go ashore. So this boat will be lowered on both sides, and that crew from shore, they will take the ropes of our ship and put it on the shore. So that is why we got the Suez crew people on board, about 5-6 people. So we have to make them accommodation.
Oh, that's right. So that's a very interesting part that you have narrated across. It also throws upon another aspect. This is a very common thing now. It is happening that whenever an oil spill occurs, it's considered as a big environmental disaster and so on and so forth. Given the vastness of the ocean, uh, why it is termed as an environmental disaster when the oil spills across the sea?
Because it spoils our ecological system, marine, birds, fish, these mammals, everything will be gone because of this. And the thing is that it will not be in one place. With the swell only, it will come towards some shore area only. So everything is now pictured by satellite.
Oh, that's right.
100%. Now, see, for some reason, I am on a ship, somebody is, by mistake, some leak is there, oil is going to. Oh, don't worry. No. The moment you reach next port, that maybe they will come with the picture actually. What is happening that, see, from point A, I loaded, and I'm going to point B. So throughout this area, in between, somewhere the oil spill happen, they will ask in point A what type of crude oil the ship has loaded. So from the sample, they'll come to know this is Iranian crude, Iranian heavy, Iranian light, stuff like that. The particular crude, they'll find out. So they'll say, oh, point A, they have loaded this crude oil. So what are the ships loaded crude oil? Which are the route they have? Simple, they'll come and pick. Simple as that.
All
So
right.
nobody can speak.
That's
Nobody.
that is interesting. Does the oil catch fire? The spilled
No,
oil?
exactly like that. See, it is not like now that depends upon the this thing, flashpoint and all. Means this jet fuel, I told you about the aircraft here. The flight point is about 30 degrees centigrade. So there are flammable liquids. But not catch spontaneously. But if you purposely do, they will have this thing.
Oh,
But still,
there is a
yeah,
possibility.
yeah, possibility is there. But we have to be very careful.
All right. That throws upon another thing. Is there any cleaning mechanism for the oil spills?
Sure. The thing is that on board, all tankers, we have got a separate anti-pollution room. It is marked with yellow band and it's marked clearly. And every week we have a training for the crew and the officers. Means I am the one safety officer will take around and show them where the oil spill things are kept. And whenever ship come for loading in harbor or in discharging in harbor, both the places the ship kept ready. All the items are kept ready. We have oil boom, the sawdust, whatever thing available. But the thing is that we are not supposed to clean a single oil spill inside the water. Whatever on board we have to contain, not allow a single drop to go on board, aboard. Once it is gone overboard, the thing is that it is the duty of the Coast Guard. So what happens, like when we are going to America and all, we have to inform the Coast Guard and we have got a permanent people to attend our vessel. So there is an in charge for that. So before arrival only 24 hours before captain inform him, ship is intended to berth on so and so place. So he will ask the captain to carry out the oil spill drill, and because he got all the particulars of our ship and they will passing to that clean area. So these people will make sure that the ship is well equipped with all the cleaning material and the Coast Guard also well prepared. Any tanker comes to the berth, they will put a oil boom all around, all the countries.
One interesting thing which I am able to notice here is after the entire narration so far, what we have done is, so the oil tanker is not an island. There are so many people who are keeping a tag with that, right?
Yeah.
Because so far we were under the impression once the oil tanker is inside the deep sea, it's a separate island, separate world.
All right. Every day, because this is our routine, morning as a safety officer, have to check the this thing temperature if the cargo loaded. Because what happens, we loaded in some hot climate, we go to the cold climate. The temperature varies. So the cargo quantity also depends upon the temperature. That is also there. So that we have to check. Company want, the owner also, charter also want the temperature to be set every day noon. In spite of that, sometimes we have to check the. I told you about toxic gases. So we have to check the toxic gases also. Hydrogen sulfide, benzene, mercaptan, everything.
We will come to that point a little later. One aspect in the public opinion or in the public's purview or the public's point of view is when ships collide, it becomes a big news in the entire media. despite all the advancement in the navigation systems and with all the precautions, why do ships collide? Is it manual or
Yeah,
automated?
no, it's not automated. See, like this collision normally happens very near to the coastal area. Open sea did not happen. So either it can be the mechanical machine failure of another ship, or it may be the complexity of the navigating officer.
Mhm.
Like I told you, when two ships are passing, they
When
be
you
very
say
careful.
complexity of the navigation officer, that means the mood of the navigation officer.
No, they think no. Sometimes no, they think that no, they watch the radar. They watch the radar. Oh, the ship is this much miles away. I am okay, no problem. No, you have to watch the radar also, but visually you must make sure the ship is well clear of you, and also you should know your maneuvering conditions. Means
Mhm.
at what point I can turn my ship if the ship is other ship is having problem. Normally, what happens if any ship is having any machinery problem or something, they will warn the people in the warn the ships in the vicinity by hoisting flag also is there by radio they will pass them information. Everything will be passed but suddenly, if something happens, but so we have to be well prepared during costing. Like
Right
English
now,
Channel and
yeah, sorry, please continue.
English Channel and road, they have to be very careful. Ship will be very close by only,
Yeah.
but you never think that oh radar is there, they will pass. No, you have to be very careful.
Right now, I borrow your term maneuvering capability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, does the maneuvering capability depends? I have read something in physics that the wave has a strength,
Yes,
or the movement of the water has some kind of a viscous strength. They say.
correct.
Is that maneuvering capability also dependent on that strength?
Yes, when the ship is made and they go for sea trial, they
Mhm.
will calculate in shallow water what is the effect of these ship machinery
Mhm.
systems in normal this thing, and all are tabulated and kept in our navigation page. So all officers should know like what is stopping point. Means one ship is 275 meters length. It will be written there at what distance we have to stop so that the ship because this is not sudden break now.
That's right.
We cannot put sudden break. So we
It
have
is
to be
called a
slowly.
stopping point, right?
Yes, stopping point. So we have to make sure that suppose I told when the ships are one ship is coming very fast, inform the engine room and try to reduce. Inform the master because
Mhm.
master is written everywhere. Even though you are the navigating, also inform him if you are in doubt.
Mhm.
So if you are in doubt, you can reduce. And also in a narrow area, what happens? Narrow channels happens. There are shallow water effect.
Mhm.
Shallow water effect, but that are not going deep because that is other term. Means
Uh,
nothing is there because of the what happened. This churning effect is there. So
Actually,
water is thrown, so it is creating a vacuum.
mhm,
So
mhm,
there is a possibility the ship bow may touch forward.
correct. Mhm,
Same way when you're passing through a bank, very near bank, near the river bank or something, if you don't reduce your speed, same there's a bank push effect is there.
okay. Mhm,
So the bow also may be rippling like this, and the stern may go and touch the bank. So
mhm,
these all things we have to make sure because we have been taught in our institute.
mhm.
But when we go on board ship, practically we should make sure that we all know what is the maneuvering characteristics of this particular ship.
Some years back, I read a book on the dockyard or the manufacturing industry, ship manufacturing industry book, a book on it. And there, I faintly remember, but please clarify whether it is okay or not. It was told in that book, if I remember right, that no two ships have a same topping point.
No, no, it will be different. Ship to ship is different, differs.
It is just like that fingerprints that no two
Yeah,
ships will have a same topping. Is that right?
no, it differs.
Yeah, it differs. Okay, so that author of the book is perfectly right there. Okay, fine enough. Okay,
So that is
so
why when we go on board any ship or the same sister ship also, we'll check the full data and see. Because
mhm,
I may think that, oh, I've been working as chief force for last 9 years. Oh, this is sister ship. I never think that. Because same pumping system may be the same, but that once I used to that, no, discharging, loading, or thing,
mhm,
I will come to know how is the system working properly.
mhm.
So we'll never become overconscious that this is
Okay.
like that. Oh, I have worked in zombie. No, never. Every time like that only. When you are going on a ship, we take over properly from other fellow when you are riding on.
So when the two ships collided with each other, is there any possibility that the two ships again can be seaworthy and travel?
That depends.
Mhm. So
How much profit?
we go into the fourth topic. So
Uh,
we have covered so far three,
uh,
that is tsunami hits, oil spills, and ship collision. So we proceed on to the fourth topic called weather monitors. How many weather monitors will be there in an oil tanker ship?
like a weather monitor means we have anemometer. I told you it is on the mast.
Just the number, how many it will be?
Yeah, satellite, weather facts, anemometer, and navtex. You can say four.
Four or five?
And
Five.
then
Okay.
barometer. Sorry, keep going. Barometer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just the purpose of this clarification was, if
Mhm.
there are multiple equipments, is there a synchronization also required for this?
Like you may say, like what happens now? This satellite, we have one
Mhm,
computer and it's
mhm,
called SATC.
mhm,
So this will get the weather messages.
mhm,
Weather facts, they will be actually the area coverage with a proper diagram. Means
mhm,
how that low pressure area is developing and all.
mhm,
And in that, no, we can point where is our position and start tracking.
mhm,
But the weather message, it is typed one. Only they will give the latitude, longitude, and the area.
mhm,
That we have to check our position and with reference to that, how much distance we are from that cyclone or severe storm area we have to calculate. Barograph will only, this barometer will give only the barometric pressure,
mhm,
but every 4 hours we are noting, and as it goes down, and it for the particular place there is a barometric pressure, and it is continuously falling. That means we are expecting some bad weather.
all right.
Wind
Uh,
direction in the sense says the anemometer will be giving the analog picture of this wind direction and speed also. Speed in meters per second and in knots also. So we know that this speed and direction is given with relative to our
mhm,
ship's direction.
okay.
So normally what we do, we calculate and make sure that it is what is the actual true wind and direction. But nowadays that's also easy. They are given one more digital system, true wind and true speed also can be given without calculation.
Oh, I see. Okay. That throws up another interesting aspect of it. We generally, when we speak about weather, especially in deep seas, we generally speak about rains, storms, cyclones, and tsunamis, and all that. But is there any possibility scorching summer heat also the tanker gets exposed?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Mhm,
But like when we are in the Fujairah area anchorage and all, we have been there for 28 days anchorage. The temperature went up to 48 to 50 degree,
mhm,
especially in the month of June, July. And the thing is that that time we are not loaded. So we are not worried about the oil and all, but we are
mhm,
worried about the crew because the maintenance has to be done.
mhm,
It has to be because that is why called she,
mhm.
always putting lipstick and make her beauty.
Okay.
So the maintenance part never stops. Every
Mhm,
day morning, the chief of I am the in charge of the maintenance also.
mhm,
So the duty Siemens will be called on deck. Engine room separate, chief engineer is in charge. So they will be doing the maintenance, engine room, cleaning, painting, everything. All the time we have to make ship now always beauty.
mhm,
So this that engine room is okay. Only thing is inside is hot, but they got some AC somewhere. But
mhm,
on open deck, the crew get exhausted. So what we used to do in those areas, we used to call them early morning around 6:37, stop them by 11, and
mhm.
again call them after 4 o'clock. So
It
that
is
no,
it is just like a civil engineering work that you are maintaining there.
yeah, yeah.
That's a very interesting proportion because we never imagined also that these things will happen in a mid sea. All right. And that throws upon another interesting fact that are the families allowed in an oil tanker?
Sure, sure. We top four: captain, chief officer, chief engineer, second engineer. These are the top four officers. We can
Mhm.
carry family. But the
Also.
thing is that because of the Somalia and all, no, we are not carrying. First thing. Second thing is that most of the time tanker is away from the shore.
Mhm.
So we are putting them in a jail, the family. They cannot
Okay.
go ashore.
Mhm.
Earlier time, their life was good. Ship birthed nicely, slowly pumping. But now, no.
Mhm.
All ports, they want, chief, what is the pumping capacity?
Mhm.
Oh, I got this much oil. Okay, chief, we'll give you 18 hours. Can you imagine? So
Mhm.
18 hours, we have to pump the oil, everything, and finish and go.
Mhm.
And loading also, when you come to Saudi and all, it is finishing around 12 hours only.
Mhm.
So that is why most of the time now families are not coming on because it's a burden for them. Just sitting inside the cabin, watching movie, nothing else. Because food is prepared by the cook. So
Okay.
so they get bored. That is it.
So how many cooks will be there in an oil tanker?
Only one cook,
Only
but
one cook.
stewards will be there. The cook will cook for like our ship. Normally, Filipino cook is there, but he cooks fantastic South Indian food, Indian food, all international food also.
Do they catch fish also?
While sailing, we cannot catch fish.
Okay.
Only thing now we are at Anchorage, but that also nowadays, all the countries are rejecting us. The moment we come to harbor, the agent come with the port authorities and say, "Give a captain, please do not fish over here." That is why.
That
Some
throws
rare
up
cases.
that throws up an interesting question here. That why I'm terming it as myself as interesting is because it is interesting. Weather monitors, when we are speaking about, and when we are given a set parameters of weather monitors, if there is a known or an ignorant violation of weather monitor, what will be the consequence and who will bear the consequence, responsibility for the consequence?
No, actually, the thing is that every day the office also follow giving us providing with all the information. That is through ocean routing. They will be providing all the information so that if these things fail, no, we are not worried about that. Weather facts will be coming, weather messages will be coming. When we are posting through the nav text, it's called navigate message as there, text message as there for the coastal area. If that also fails, we have to the coastal station also giving warning. Like when we are passing through English Channel, they will say this much area is already affected by fog. So we are prepared for that. Earlier, what is the thing is that now when we are passing through fog area, no sounds on deck will be allowed, like chipping and all. No, the crew will be chipping for cleaning and all. Nothing. Zero, because the visibility is less. And we used to keep the our ship's navigation bridge wheel of our door open so that we can hear that time special sound will be given by the ships only, alarm, sound alarm. By sound alarm and radar only, the two things only, because visibility is zero. But now what happened? In order to keep the doors open, we got a sound reproducing equipment. Any sound from outside will be heard in our navigation grids.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. All right. Is there any research activity also going on in an oil tanker?
In our ship, no research.
No research activity, because I was told that some oil tankers do carry some research scholars or students for further developing or innovating the oil tankers and all that.
We don't have.
You don't have that. Okay, fine. Because that's where India has a big thing to bridge up there, because it's a we say ocean of opportunities. So research on an oil tanker is a ocean of opportunity for our country to dwell upon, and that's a big area that either the government or the private sector are yet to touch there. All right. Okay, that carries to the final part of the entire thing, the fifth point, which is toxic gases. You already said H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas, and exposure to this gas may be an instant death also. Now, knowing the fact or having the awareness of the fact that these gases are inside the tanker, how you mentally and physically equip yourself to handle it?
Actually, this H2S, first thing I'll tell you about H2 hydrogen sulfide. This is measured in ppm, parts per million by volume. So the thing is that after so many tests, the shore has come to a point that up to 5 ppm is the TLV, thresh limited value. That means up to continuously 8 hours can a person exposed to this at 5 ppm, nothing will happen. So all the company will tell us the TLV of H2S for our company is 5 ppm. Mercaptan is this much, benzene is this much. So we know the value. And the moment we load cargo, they will give a MSDS, material safety data sheet. So first thing I will check up that how much is the content of benzene, how much is the content of mercaptan, how much is the content of H2S. So we are equipped with a dragger pump. We have to pump it, and we got long hand pipe. At the end of the pipe, we have to connect chemical tubes are there. For H2S is different, mercaptan then nitrous fumes, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, everything is different too. So
Oh.
if we suspect there is thing, we calculate. But if it is more than 200 ppm, we cannot collect with that. So we got other equipments. So normally what happens when we are going to check these things, we will not open tanks. We got small vapor lock systems are there. Means we keep the thing shut only, insert the tube just above the oil level and make sure nothing is exposed. And that also we will make sure that we are standing against the wind, not against the wind, away from the wind. So that no, if any gas is there, it will disperse away from us.
That's right.
Also, we'll take proper precaution. Face masks are there. If it is more than the required amount, we will use SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus.
In case if an emergency occurs in an oil tanker, how do you handle that?
Like if there is a toxic release that which is beyond our point, what happens? All the tanks are kept provided with a vent, and the vent capacity is this much. So what happens? The vapor may increase, and the thing may open after the exceeded limit. So we know that we have completely the duty officer and the chief officer is monitoring the gas expansion. So we normally we watch it, and before releasing, suppose we know that it's already reached the maximum, we can manually release that. But before manually releasing, we'll have to inform the captain first that we are going to inform this because we are having a highly toxicated H2S. Inform the engine room what happens. So many inlets are there. This H2S may enter the engine room, it may become flammable. So we'll inform the engine room, make sure the inlets are closed, all accommodation doors are closed, and the person who is going, only one person will go on deck with proper PPE, and if required, the navigation team will turn the ship so that no gas is coming to the ship. It will disperse to the sea area. Then only we'll release little of this thing, gas, so that will kill. When you are told about emergency, something happened, burst, same precaution we have to take. And every person is having this monitor, STS monitor. When we are going on deck on a tanker, we keep the monitor always with us, STS monitor.
I have somewhere read in a fictional story that to counter poisonous gas or the human killing gases, there is also a parallel gas that we can have to neutralize the effect of that poisonous gases.
Yes.
Is there anything like that also in oil tankers?
Yes, in oil tanker, normally what happens? Normally see, for getting a flame thing, the oxygen level should come up.
Yes.
And plus, this hydrocarbon is also there. So both are rich, flame will happen. So what happens? In an oil tanker, we have got an inert gas, which is not having oxygen, maximum nitrogen is there. This is taken from the boiler only. From the boiler, by some method, they taken the flue gas and they're putting through this in the tank after cleaning everything. And once they are using this system, this is what IG system, inert gas system. So this system comes to the tank only after all purification, and it cannot go back. What happens if this IG fails? The vapor may enter this tank and it may go to engine room. It will be giving a backflame. So these are having all non-return valves. So these system are on board IG this thing. So what will happen? It will reduce the oxygen level. So once oxygen level is kept to minimum, even though hydrocarbon is more, no flammability will be there. And same way, after cargo discharges, when we are going to Nash port, then first thing the port authority will inform us that you should come with only this much ppm of H2S. So we'll check the H2S because we know that all this crude oil is carrying more H2S. So once we clear the loading port, next day the chief author's duty is to check the H2S in all tanks. And we know that it is more than that. Then what we'll do, we start the inert gas and it is called purging. We'll put the inert gas in the tanks and we'll throw out the extra gas outside till we require that maximum value for that particular.
Correct. Okay.
That is called inert gas.
Now, a common phrase is deep sea. Now, from the seashore, how many nautical miles are there to address an area called deep sea?
That you can say normally see about 200 meter, 200 nautical miles, you can say 200 nautical miles.
200 nautical miles.
Because up to
Now,
200 nautical miles is our territorial zone. Then the
okay,
international water starts also. So normally deep sea starts that only.
200 nautical
Yeah.
miles. Okay,
Approximately.
yeah, approximately. Taking that as a cue,
Uh,
say if there is a health emergency for a crew member on an oil tanker, and for an immediate attention of the medical facility or health related treatments, 200 nautical miles have to be crossed, right? So how do you handle that, or what is the plan that you have to handle that?
yeah. Regarding medical emergency, now all are trained for giving CPR. All is we got a hospital on board with 2 bed, and all are trained for this thing. And every week with the fire drill, we take out this for giving artificial respiration. We got O2 resuscitated, and second house with the medical officer, and we trained everybody. Apart from that, we got a booklet given, Captain's Medical Guide.
Mhm,
In that, what symptom is there? Accordingly, we can give medicine also, but not to give directly. We have to contact the medical center by satellite. So they will advise us. Now, if you can say there is an immediate emergency, we'll contact this medical AVAC system,
mhm.
and all tankers we have got a winching area or the helicopter can board. That particular area is marked nicely, and that is fully built for that area only. So the
Okay.
helicopter can land and they can be shifted to that. And we have the special structure also to put them in that and to carry to. And we do every month one helicopter drill also, because if you don't know the proper drill, what happens? This thing is rotating. You're just running and you may get accident.
Oh,
So we have been trained for that, everything.
okay. Any interesting aspect that you have experienced in your life in an oil tanker?
This is the one tsunami which I told you that what
Okay.
happened in 2004. I was second officer. Uh, we left Gulf of Mexico after
Yeah.
discharge. Evening only the wind picked up like anything. So we were just slowly cruising around that port area only inside. Means slowly we'll go. Then after we reach one point, we turn around like that. Yeah. And midnight, I was supposed to join duty. Actually, normally 15 minutes before we go on duty. Why?
Mhm.
Because the entire navigation bridge is in dark.
I
So
see.
after sleep, we have to get accustomed with the darkness. So
Mhm.
we just go inside and see everything. Okay, all equipment. Then we took our watch. And by 15 minutes before we go there and see, by 12 o'clock, we had to take out the watch from the third officer.
Mhm.
So when I went, the condition was horrible. Zero visibility. Even I cannot see the forward part of the ship.
Mhm.
Temperature was minus 70 degree. Wind speed was around 100 knots. That is 180 kilometers per hour.
Oh my
Captain
God.
is the bridge only. A captain did go from the bridge. He's just standing near the radar only. Since afternoon, he is there only. I
Mhm.
was there at 12 o'clock duty. I went to take rest after 4 o'clock. Then again at 12 o'clock, captain is there only because he's just sitting there, eating food there only, and then coming there because he has to be there.
Mhm.
Then after 5 minutes, captain told me, inform engine room, we have to turn around now. We have to
Mhm.
go to the reciprocal course.
Mhm.
And we inform that engine room. Now vessel will be turning around. That time will be big rolling. So rest of people are sleeping. So we make sure everything is ready. So don't think that suddenly they will get panic. Okay, chief agent told, okay, we are ready. Within seconds, he told that, sir, engine not responding.
Oh.
And you won't believe, 3 nautical mile from that, there is a rock nearby to the coast.
Oh.
So I tell you, we prayed like anything, and then Captain told me immediately because communication, position plotting, everything, second officer is there. Assistant is other. Then we called one more assistant to steer only. So two assistants, captain, myself is there. Immediately captain informed, okay, tell chief officer and come ready because any emergency to tackle, we want more people.
Mhm.
And then we inform the coast station, traffic system, VTS, vessel traffic system, that this is the problem we are facing. We have an engine failure. We are supposed to turn. We are very near. They told the captain, let us see. We are trying to send some ocean deck. But we know that practically, if the ocean deck comes out, what they can do? How can we crew go on deck to assist the towing this thing that to connect the rope on the deck because it's very bad.
Mhm.
But luckily, after we prayed like in luckily within 3 minutes, and he was happy engine responded. So he told, okay, now we are going to turn. The moment we turned, ship started rolling about 20 degrees. All crew started calling on the bridge. What happened? What happened? Everything falling here and there. Because we don't have time to see all these, what is falling on deck and all. We are interested about the safety of the crew, safety of the ship. That's all. But anyhow, we turned nicely and then we went on a rescue course and we still rolling was there. And then what happened now, we used to do then extra duty. Means I joined at 12 o'clock. My reliever will come 2 o'clock again. So I'll stay with him till 6 o'clock because now our burden is coming more now. We have to put the position, we have to inform the VTS, all things we have to manage. So we used to do, when I went at 6 o'clock, I cannot open my cabin even. What happened? With the rolling, whatever things, my luggage or whatever, they bang the door and it is closed. And I came down after duty. Actually, will not just go to cabin and sleep. We just see inside the ship and see everything is safe. That is while taking over duty also, after finishing duty also will make sure that inside mess room, galley, everything is safe. So when I went, the steward is just sitting like this because all crockeries are fallen and it is broken. And in the galley, it is other case. Chief cook is just sitting like that. In our recreation room, sofas were overturned. That was a time we all prayed like this. But next day afternoon, when I came for duty, captain is laughing. What happened? Pilot already on board. I can see the sea is okay. No rolling, nothing. Then pilot told, "Hey, second, how was your night?" I told, "Very good." He's telling, now you just, after dropping, you can switch on the TV. The moment we switch on TV, we came to know that at same day, we had tsunami here on 20th December 2004.
Oh.
Imagine, the pilot told us that this severe storm happened 24 years after.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So just see the ripples. Because I heard the entire story that India was hit very badly, but especially this Nagapattinam and all, because Nagapattinam epicenter was the northern tip of the Sumatra.
That's right.
There all it started. Yeah. So this travel, and not only that, so many fishermen lost their lives in the coast of South Africa. Can you imagine 5,000 miles from that area?
That's right.
So the ripples. So that is the thing they were telling. That was the worst experience. This was the worst experience.
Yeah. One of the most pleasant experiences, if you narrate.
Pleasant experience is little this thing also, but this is not in oil tanker. Before I was in a bulk carrier as a third officer. So that was my first ship after getting my license as third officer. We loaded in Boulogne, France or something. Then we went to French Guiana near Brazil to discharge the cargo. We were carrying some cement and all. So we were discharging cargo nicely. We finished discharging, and then what happened? Once the discharging finishes, chief officer and second officer were busy to check the holes. Means nothing left over and all. So they were busy in that thing. So only I am the one ready. So captain called me. Third just come up. We'll try out engine before starting. So he called me up, and myself and captain we tried out the engine, everything, because after half an hour something we are expecting the pilot to take the vessel away from the shore. And captain and chief author and second author were busy in cleaning that area to make sure the crew everything is settled around and don't take it. And finally we sailed out. Next day morning again, because there was on duty is 8 to 12. I was on duty again 8 to 12. We were just away from the coast also, but I can see some fishing boats and all. So around 8:30 morning, I was using binocular and see, oh, everything is clear and all, because alone in the navigation bridge. A small ship, 100-meter ship. And I can see small fishing vessel passing, but all clear. While checking this fishing vessel, I heard a loud cry from behind. Like that. When I turned back, I was really shocked to see an African behind me.
Oh.
It was that time, otherwise I fallen there only. Because he was a stowaway.
Oh.
This fellow, I suddenly closed the bridge door, locked from inside. I called master, chief author. They all came running, and they came, and then he just lied on the deck, full of cement and all. Then chief author captain asked, "Who are you?" He's telling, "I used to come on the deck every day outside and watching your ship. I am a seaman actually. I deported from one of the ship. I got a CDC, seaman passport, everything. So I came here to clean the hatch and nobody noticed. So I came inside the lifeboat and slept in the night. And then I shifted to funnel and I am here." Now we took the photo and informed the company we had a stowaway. Because once we had a stowaway, we have knocked boat will take him away. We have to carry him
That's
till
right.
somebody take him. So we inform the guy. Not only that, the worst part is that he may say that these people called me because after that we are going to Poinur, that is in Tobago. No, not Poinur, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, yeah.
There we are supposed to load milk coils and go to Houston,
Mhm.
America.
Mhm.
So it is the worst thing. But anyhow, company told we have to be. Now the thing is that once Stowaway comes on board, he's a VIP. We are not supposed to treat him. Otherwise, they will be punished. So we have to treat him like a proper human being on board. Means proper facility given. And
Mhm.
that ship is a small ship. So even the officers don't have single toilet.
Mhm.
Chief officer and third officer sharing. Only captain and chief engineer having attached bathroom.
Mhm.
Small ship, 100 meter. Crew, 4 crew, 1 toilet only. But now this fellow can be put like that. So only thing is that he is put in the hospital with full facilities.
How many
AC
countries
is
you would
just
have
not there,
visited?
but fan,
How many countries you have visited?
Italy,
Will it be more than 50?
Guyana. More than 50, more than 50.
Oh, that's nice. So you're a true international person then. Now, given all these oscillations, your digestive mechanism is also one and the same like the land, or it is little different on the tanker?
So far, I didn't have any problem.
Okay.
Touch wood, I never took any medicine till now.
Oh, that is nice. So you are the perfect seaman available then.
One
That's
thing I tell you,
yes.
we got a lift on board. Now all the tankers, since I joined after 2004, all new tankers. Before that, the old ones, they are all equipped with lift because our navigation bridge is on the 5th floor.
Fine.
But I never use lift.
Okay. Okay.
That is only my exercise.
Okay.
No gymnasium, nothing.
So at the last, there is a saying, I don't know whether it is real or not, or it's just a fiction. I don't know. So I can get a clarification from you. A ship has two ends, the front and the back. We say rear end, right? So, and sometimes, some people believe in some kind of astrology or some kind of goody-goody area or place. And I was also told that some ships, the front portion is very good, and some ships, the rear portion is very good. Is that like that? Something like that?
Actually, front portion will be the most strongest point because that is the collision. That is we say collision bulkhead, that area, because that area has to be more strong because it is withstanding all the wind, wave, everything.
Mhm.
Aft is there. Aft, okay, it is strong, but comparatively, the forward portion will be the strongest one because you see, it is facing all the wind, everything.
I'm not speaking about that. I am speaking about something called auspicious, where for a ship, whether the front portion is auspicious or the rear portion auspicious.
I never heard like that.
You didn't
Only
hear
that,
like that.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you so much. We will.
தமிழ் கேட்டா ஐயா தெரியுமா? தமிழ்ல பதில் சொல்ல முடியுமா?
It was an exciting journey. I think you have given content for a couple of books and a few movies also. Hope there's a writer around who can write.
Rock here.
That is a personal.
Now, during the emergencies, how the evacuation is done? I mean, for days together you are out. Do you have some system where anybody falling sick, seriously ill, how do you evacuate them?
Sir,
Or
it's a very wonderful talk, and literally you have taken us on a journey on the sea. Sir, I teach logistics management for BBA students, sir. So your subject is your talk is very much related to my subject, and I do take general insurance also. So most of the points that are related to my subject, can you just focus more on logistics and insurance related to oil tankers, sir?
It was like what say a documentary worth watching in BBC or Discovery. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.